Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I thought I would bring you guys a little bit more of a fitness focused video. A bit more like sit down and informative. I feel like I've not done one of those in a little while. So that is going to be today's video. I'm going to be basically taking you guys through in my opinion, my most important factors in building muscle and just progressing in the gym in general. As we all know, it is now 2024 and I know that a lot of you guys are probably maybe starting out on your fitness journeys, or you know, you've kind of like set yourself some new goals for the new year and you maybe just wanting some tips on how to actually make progress. So that's exactly what I'm going to be running you guys through in today's video. These are the tips that have worked for me personally and are the tips that I personally find to be the most beneficial and effective in building muscle. A lot of these points as well, by the way, are not just with regards to building muscle, it can be with regards to anything. Some points are very specific to building muscle, but some points are just generally kind of how to stay on track in your journey, whether that be running, weightlifting, swimming, I don't know, whatever you are doing, you know, fitness wise, and you're wanting to stay on track with whatever you are doing. These are the top tips that I have for you guys to stay on track and to actually make progress. So without further ado, because I don't want to make this video really long, I'm just going to get straight into the points. So my first point would be to stay consistent. So this is something that I bang on about all the time, but if you guys are kind of expecting to reach a certain goal of yours and make progress in whatever it is that you are doing, you need to be doing that thing, whatever it is. I'm just going to talk about weightlifting mostly in this video because that's obviously my focus, and I know that a lot of my followers focus on that sport as well. But you need to be lifting consistently every single week. If you are just kind of like lifting here and there, maybe like once a week or once every few weeks, you are not going to see substantial muscle growth, and it's going to be hard for you to actually make progress in regards to your physical appearance and also your strength as well. You need to be doing the same lifts over and over again each week and focusing on progressive overload throughout those weeks. And staying consistent as well doesn't just mean with your training, that means with your eating as well. So whatever kind of diet you are eating, you know, to suit your goals, you need to be doing that consistently. There's no point kind of maybe having 3 or 4 days eating really consistently and eating on track and healthily, and then maybe 3 or 4 days of the rest of the week you are just kind of, you know, having a big binge and just maybe eating loads of takeaways, and you are not staying on track with the correct diet. So staying consistent with both your eating and training is super important. Over time, the more that you are consistent, your body will kind of get used to the movements and it will be easier for you to kind of progress in everything that you are doing. And whilst we are talking about consistency, it's kind of just come to my mind as well that staying consistent with your just daily routine in general is going to help you feel so much more on track. For example, your morning routine and your evening routine has to be kind of nailed down if you want to set yourself up for a successful day, a successful week. That is something that I'm really trying to nail down in 2024, is nailing down my morning routine, making sure that I'm doing everything that kind of sets me up for the day in the morning, and then at night as well, everything that is going to kind of, you know, wind me down in the best way possible and also set me up for the following day. But having a solid morning and evening routine is super important. If your life is just, you know, very chaotic, you have nothing planned, everything's just very like sporadic, you're gonna feel the same in your head and you're gonna feel kind of all over the place in your mind, and you're just gonna feel very like messy. I find that when I don't have a routine and I'm kind of like off track with my routine for whatever reason, I feel exactly like that in my mind. I feel like messy, I'm not on track because my routine is out of whack. So make sure you are staying consistent with whatever it is that makes you, you know, feel good for your morning routine and evening routine, and whatever kind of works for you in setting yourself up for the day. That is point number 1, all summed up basically, is to stay consistent. Point number 2 would be to stick to a solid plan. I know I did kind of touch on this with the consistency because they kind of go hand in hand. But if you are wanting to make progress, you're wanting to increase your strength, you're wanting to build muscle mass, or you're wanting to just progress in anything that you are doing, sticking to a plan is super important. If you have your workouts planned out every single day on a certain plan, you kind of have no room to be making mistakes and kind of not knowing what you're doing when you're walking into the gym. Everything is set out for you and you don't need to waste time in your day trying to figure out what you're gonna do in your session, which can cause like a lot of stress as well. I find that if I don't have a plan, if I go into the gym without a plan, I just feel very like stressed in my mind knowing that I have to kind of like come up with something and like figure out a workout to complete. Whereas if you have it all written down, ready for you, maybe just plan out your week of workouts the week before the coming week, it can help so much like in your mind being organized, because you know that that is one less thing to think about, because it's just all ready for you when you get into the gym. And sticking to a plan kind of lifting wise with certain movements, that is the best way that you are going to be able to build muscle. In my brand new 20-week workout guide, in it I have the exact same movements week by week for 4 weeks straight, and then after the 4 weeks, a few of the isolation and unilateral movements switch around a little bit, and then they all stay the same for the following 4 weeks. And then again after 4 weeks, the isolations and unilateral movements change again, and so on and so on. Throughout the entire plan though, the compounds stay the same. Now, this doesn't mean lifting the exact same weight for the exact same reps for the entire 20 weeks, but the movements, for example, in every single glute workout over the 20-week period, I have included hip thrusts and RDLs. This is so that over the 20 weeks you can kind of progress in those movements, whether that be changing the reps, changing the weight. 1 week you might be doing, you know, I don't know, 100 kg for 8 to 10 reps. The next week you'll probably do the same, and then the week after that you might be able to do 12 reps for that weight. And then once you can kind of comfortably do 12 reps, it's time to increase the weight. It might sound really boring to some to be doing the same movements every single week, but genuinely that is how I have personally seen the most progress with regards to muscle growth, and focusing on those really important movements week by week, changing around reps and weight and everything like that is how I have seen the most progress. And the only way that you can do that really is by sticking to a plan, because it's all going to be regimented every single week and you have everything set out for you. And yeah, to kind of sum up those first 2 points, sticking to a plan and consistently is such a huge factor in progressing in anything that you are doing. If you guys do want to check out my 20-week guide that launched a couple of weeks ago, the link will be in the description. And then point number 3, this is, as I said, a little bit more related to just muscle building, and that would be to eat in a calorie surplus. So the way that I have found that I have been able to build the most sufficient amount of muscle is when I was in a calorie surplus. It's when I did kind of like my first proper bulk that I stuck to consistently for around 7 months. I stuck to it for, so obviously a pretty prolonged period of time. It wasn't like a quick fix, you know, I'm not bulking in like a month and seeing progress. It doesn't really work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So eating in a calorie surplus basically means that you are eating more calories than you are burning. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still build muscle at maintenance or in a deficit. It's just a little bit more difficult and you won't build as much mass. If you are wanting to build as much mass as possible, have as much strength in your sessions, and as I said, just build as much mass as possible, I would highly recommend being in a calorie surplus, and alongside that, eating a high protein diet. Protein is like the building blocks of our muscles, so if you are not having enough protein in your diet, your muscle fibers are not going to be able to rebuild after they've been torn down in your workouts, basically, to simply put it. So you are kind of not eating a high protein diet, you're not eating that many calories, you are going to find it very difficult to build muscle. So those 2 points kind of go hand in hand, eating a high protein diet and eating in a calorie surplus. I am currently back in a calorie surplus. In my previous video, you guys will have seen a little bit of a full day of eating, but I'm currently like just over 2 weeks into my bulk again. I did go through like December and November not tracking, but I've decided to start tracking again in the new year, and I just find that it adds so much like structure into my days. I personally love tracking my calories. I know that it's not for everyone, and by no means do you need to track your calories to make progress. You can definitely intuitively eat, which means not tracking your calories, and still build muscle and make progress. It's just kind of a way of being very specific about what you're eating and knowing that you are hitting those numbers daily. If you obviously have no numbers in mind to kind of hit, then you don't need to track, and if maybe you find it triggering to track your calories, then definitely do not do it. And then for point number 4, it would be to train hard and to train until failure more often. So over like the past year or so, I have taken my training to like the next level, and I have been training with so much more intensity, training to failure more often, and genuinely just training hard as fuck. And that is how I have seen the most muscle growth. I have seen the most muscle growth within myself in the past 12 months than I have in the whole 6 years of me being on my fitness journey, and that is solely down to training harder and eating in a calorie surplus. And going through that first bulk calorie surplus phase is something that I will always be thankful for, because it built up so much mental resilience within me, and also obviously built up the most muscle mass that I've ever built on myself, and just kind of made me feel so much more confident. That was obviously my physical goal, was to, you know, build more muscle, build more mass on myself, and it has made me feel so much more confident. I obviously don't recommend having only aesthetic goals. I recommend having other goals as well, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with having aesthetic goals. You know, if you want to grow a big bum or you want to grow big delts, I don't know, that is absolutely fine. Do not feel bad for having a physical appearance goal. I feel like social media sometimes can make you feel a little bit bad and a little bit guilty for having a physical appearance goal, but anybody that says they don't have a physical appearance goal is lying. Everybody wants to achieve, you know, a certain look, and I feel like the mental benefits and everything like that kind of overpower those aesthetic goals, but they're still there within your mind. And although the, you know, mental and everything benefits are more important than the physical ones, it literally doesn't mean that you shouldn't have physical goals and that it's not okay to have physical goals. I have physical goals and most other people have physical goals. So if that kind of is what makes you train harder over the mental aspect of it, that is absolutely fine. Like, each to their own. Everybody's, you know, journey and everything is so different. Some people train, you know, mostly just for the mental benefits of it, whereas some people train just for the aesthetic part of it, and either is absolutely fine, whatever makes you happy. But back to my point, I feel like I kind of sidetracked there. I'm not saying that you should train until failure, you know, for every exercise and every set. I wouldn't recommend that. It's actually not beneficial. I personally usually only train until failure or close to failure, maybe on my last set of a certain exercise. Say I'm doing 3 sets of a certain exercise, I would more than likely try and go to failure or near failure on that last set. There's no point doing it on your first or second set when you still need to exert energy on your last set, because basically kind of like once you go until failure, you are making it very hard for your body to, you know, produce and exert any more energy, because you've kind of used it all on those previous sets when you were training until failure. So I recommend doing it, but maybe do it on your last exercise in your entire workout, or maybe on a last set in a certain exercise. But as long as you are kind of performing the movements with control, with intent, and you are doing them nice and slow, you're not rushing your reps or anything like that, and you are still pushing a weight that is difficult for you, and, you know, progressing it over the weeks, you will still make progress. But just don't forget, you need to train hard. You've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I see far too many people training like until they're just tired, and then they just stop when they clearly have so many more left in the tank, and that is like just the worst thing that you can do, because your muscles need to tear down in order to rebuild again, and the way that your muscles tear is by training with that intensity and training really hard. And I'm not saying this for kind of maybe exercises that if you don't have a spotter it could be quite dangerous. I'm not saying it for exercises like that. I'm saying it for maybe if you have a spotter, or if you're doing an exercise that's quite safe and it doesn't matter if you kind of fail on it. You know, don't start going and barbell squatting without a spotter, a weight that you're going to fail and then blame me, because I do not want that hanging over my head. Make sure that whatever you are doing is safe. For example, a pendulum squat. I've spoken about this in previous videos, but I don't mind going to failure with a pendulum squat, because it doesn't matter if you fail. Well, with some machines it doesn't matter if you fail. If your machine that you are using is really safe and if you fail you are going to be fine, that is absolutely okay. That is why I like to use the pendulum squat, because you are obviously supported by a machine. You put it on a certain setting so that if you fail, you know, it's not the end of the world. Make sure that you are doing the training until failure and training hard safely. We do not want to be injuring ourselves around here. My next point would be to prioritize rest and recovery, and to stop overtraining. I know I say this a lot, and a lot of you guys might be like, yeah, whatever, like that's not true. But rest and recovery is just as important as your training. I promise you that. It's like a 50-50. If you are training as hard as possible, like I said in the previous point, if you are training until failure and then you're not doing the adequate rest after you have done that, you are going to injure yourself, and you are not going to actually build the muscle, because your body needs to rest in order to build the muscle. You know, at night time when you are asleep, that is when the most muscle and tissue rebuilding is done. So if you are not getting, you know, like a solid night's sleep, not enough hours sleep, you are not going to rebuild that muscle tissue as well as you could be, and your muscles are not actually going to be recovered for your coming sessions. And if you are training a certain muscle group when it is not fully recovered, you are just going to end up injuring yourself. You're going to end up maybe tearing something because that body part is not as recovered as it should be. So making sure that you have enough rest days a week and getting enough nights sleep every single night is so important. I actually personally track my sleep. I actually have an Aura ring. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about them on social media. They're quite popular at the moment. But I got this almost a year ago now. I got it in March last year, I believe. And it tracks my sleep and it tracks my cycle as well. So it connects to an app called Natural Cycles and tells me when my period's come in, when I'm ovulating, everything like that. But mostly what I use it for is for my sleep. I will show you guys actually how much sleep I had last night, just as an example so that you can see. So I don't know if that is too far away for you guys, but last night I had 7 hours 57 minutes of sleep. My time in bed was 8 hours 27 minutes sleep, so it took me exactly half an hour to get to sleep. I was given a score of 84 for my sleep score. Not amazing, but still quite good. I personally struggle a little bit with REM sleep. I feel like I always get a little bit less REM sleep. As you can see, the REM sleep one is the red line. I really don't know if you can see that. And then the rest are blue. If it's like a blue line, that means it's good. And if it's red, it's something that you need to work on a little bit. But REM sleep is actually like the most important, I think. Don't quote me on that, I'm not a sleep expert, but it says REM sleep makes up anywhere between 5 to 50% of your total sleep time. On average, the optimal amount for healthy adults starts from 1.5 hours, but slightly decreases with age. So I did have 1 hour 15 last night, so that's actually not that bad, but sometimes I get like less than an hour and I know that that's not great. But I don't really know how to make that better because it's obviously something that goes on whilst you're asleep. But it's basically, REM stands for rapid eye movement, and it plays an important role in re-energizing your mind and body. And then you've got your deep sleep as well, which is, oh no, this is the most restorative and rejuvenating sleep stage. I think that is actually the most important one, your deep sleep. So yeah, that is just a little overview of what I use. This is not sponsored by Aura or anything. That is literally like the first app that I check every morning to see how much sleep I've had. And I feel like if I woke up now not knowing how much sleep I'd had, it would just kind of like really stress me out because I just love knowing. And I feel like it's also a nice and helpful thing to use. I feel like it is expensive, but it's also like an investment within yourself, and obviously an investment into prioritizing your rest and recovery. I personally don't train in this though because it scratches really easily, and as I said, it was expensive, so I don't want it to get really scratched. But I have an Apple Watch too, so I wear my Apple Watch in the gym. But yeah, to sum up that very long explanation, please make sure that you are prioritizing your rest and recovery so that you are able to give your all into all your sessions and rebuild whatever has been broken down in your sessions optimally. But yeah, that is all the points that I have for you guys. I hope that this was helpful and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you'd like more like sit down chatting informative videos, or if you prefer the more vloggy style. I'll always try and do like a little bit of a mix between the two. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to watching Vampire Diaries now because I started Vampire Diaries last night, guys, and I'm obsessed already. I'm hooked. I'm on episode 5 already, and I just knew that I would love this. I don't know how I've never seen it before, but very excited to watch it. So I'll let you know how I get on over the next few vlogs. But yeah, if you are just kind of starting out on your fitness journey, or you are just kind of realigning and recreating some goals in your already existing fitness journey, then let me know down below and let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!